So dicot leaf is called dorsiventral leaf because it has two surfaces, dorsal surface and ventral surface. Dicot leaf will have both the types of chlorenchyma, that is palisade and spongy, whereas monocot leaf will have only spongy type of chlorenchyma. Stomata are equally distributed on upper and lower epidermis, hence the name isobilateral leaf. Cambium is present in dicot stem but it is absent in monocot stem. So hello everyone, welcome back to session 7 of this chapter called Anatomy of Flowering Plants. Myself, B. Shobha Rani from the Department of Biology, Vidyashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence. So what did we study in the last session? Hope you remember we studied about the anatomy of a dicot stem with that of a monocot stem. And we also studied how different the anatomical features of a dicot stem is with that of a monocot stem. Now let us study about the anatomical features of the leaf. How does a tea? I think all of us know leaf are of, as we all know, plants are of two types. That is the dicot plants and the monocot plants. Dicot plants and monocot plants. Right. So we know dicot plants have reticulate venation and the leaf is called as a dicot leaf, or it is otherwise called as dorsiventral leaf because it is having two surfaces, that is dorsal surface and ventral surface, or you can also use the word called upper epidermis and lower epidermis, and it is having the venation, that is the arrangement of veins is in the form of network, hence it is called reticulate venation. Monocot plant leaf is called isobilateral leaf. So iso means what? Same. Bilateral means both the surfaces are one and the same. And the venation is called the parallel venation. So first let us understand how a dicot leaf is and a monocot leaf. So dicot leaf is called dorsiventral leaf because it has two surfaces, dorsal surface and ventral surface, or you can also use the word called upper epidermis, lower epidermis, or abaxial and adaxial. So here you can use the word called adaxial and abaxial. So here, and the type of venation is reticulate venation. In that of a monocot leaf is called as isobilateral leaf. Iso means same, bi means two, sides, lateral means sides. So both the sides are one and the same, hence the name isobilateral leaf. And it is having parallel venation. So the veins, what are veins? Veins are the ones which carry xylem and phloem and they run parallel to each other. So this is about a dicot leaf and a monocot leaf. Now let us study about the anatomical features of the transverse section of a dicot leaf. So we can take dicot leaf. So TS of dicot leaf, dorsiventral leaf, shows three main parts. One is called mesodermis. First one is called epidermis, mesophyll and vascular system. Here you can see this is how the structure of a dicot leaf is. This is the TS of a dicot leaf, or it is also called as dorsiventral leaf. It is also called as dorsiventral leaf. So what are the parts you come across? First one is epidermis. Here you can see upper epidermis, lower epidermis. Here you can see upper epidermis and lower epidermis. Here epidermis is divided into two. One is called upper epidermis and the other one is called lower epidermis. Next, this middle part, this one is called as what? Mesophyll. This is called the mesophyll, which is having a tissue called chlorenchyma tissue, which is a modified parenchyma tissue, I think all of us know how important leaf is for a plant body. They are the photosynthetic apparatus of the plant body, and the process of photosynthesis takes place in the leaves, and particularly in this particular area called mesophyll, which is having the chlorenchyma tissue. What is chlorenchyma tissue? It is a modified parenchyma tissue. Then next comes the vascular bundle, vascular system that comprises of xylem and phloem. And here in mesophyll, one thing you have to understand here, the chlorenchyma tissue is of two types here. Chlorenchyma tissue is of two types. Here you can see this is called palisade chlorenchyma. Here this is called spongy parenchyma, spongy chlorenchyma. So here mesophyll, that is chlorenchyma, is of two types. One is called palisade, which are elongated cells, compactly arranged cells laden with chloroplasts. Here what are spongy chlorenchymas? They are spherical cells having large intercellular spaces and filled with chloroplasts. But in monocot leaf or isobilateral leaf, there is only one type of chlorenchyma tissue called spongy chlorenchyma tissue. But in dicot leaf, there are two types of chlorenchyma. One is called palisade chlorenchyma and the other one is called spongy chlorenchyma. Palisade, how do you differentiate the palisade from the spongy? Palisade are elongated cells, compactly arranged cells filled with chloroplasts, which takes part in the process of photosynthesis. Spongy are, what is the name, what do you mean by spongy? That is, they are spherical cells having large intercellular spaces filled with chloroplasts. And I think all of us know that the process of transpiration takes place through a very specialized structures that is found in the leaf, that is called stomata. And we find that in dicot leaf, there are more stomatal openings in the lower epidermis than in the upper epidermis. So you come across more stomatal openings here. Here you come across more stomatal openings in the lower epidermis than in the upper epidermis. So upper epidermis will have less number of stomata when compared to the lower epidermis. So here, as I said, next, epidermis. What is epidermis? Epidermis covers both upper. Upper is called adaxial and the lower is called abaxial surface of the leaf, has a conspicuous cuticle. Then abaxial surface has more stomata than the adaxial epidermis. That is, as I said, the lower epidermis will have more number of stomatal openings than the upper epidermis. So TS of, now let us study about TS of dicot leaf, which is called as what? Dorsiventral leaf, which has two surfaces called upper epidermis. Upper epidermis is called what? Adaxial. Then lower epidermis, which is called abaxial. So the lower epidermis will have more number of stomata. Right? Then the mesophyll has two types of chlorenchyma. That is, one is called palisade and the other one is called spongy. So TS of dicot leaf is called dorsiventral leaf because it has two surfaces, dorsal surface and ventral surface, or you can also differentiate it into upper epidermis. Epidermis, you can differentiate it into upper epidermis, lower epidermis, or we can also differentiate upper epidermis into adaxial surface and lower epidermis into abaxial surface. And the lower epidermis, which is called abaxial surface, will have more number of stomata. Then mesophyll, which is a very, very important part of the leaf, which contains modified chlorenchyma tissue, which is mainly involved in what? Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. So here you can see this is epidermis, upper epidermis, and this is lower epidermis, and this is palisade, and this is spongy. So TS of dicot leaf shows dorsiventral leaf, shows three main parts: epidermis, mesophyll and vascular. Epidermis, as I said, upper and lower. Mesophyll, chlorenchyma, two types. One is called palisade and the other one is called spongy. Then comes the vascular system. So epidermis covers both upper epidermis called adaxial and lower epidermis called abaxial. Abaxial surface has more stomata than the adaxial epidermis. So tissue between upper and lower epidermis is called mesophyll. As I said, mesophyll cells are of two types: palisade parenchyma and spongy parenchyma. How do you differentiate the palisade. So this is the palisade and these are the spongy. So they are elongated pillar-like. This one is spongy with spherical cells having large intercellular spaces. So adaxially placed palisade parenchyma is made up of elongated cells arranged vertically parallel to each other. Spongy parenchyma are oval or round and loosely arranged cells below the palisade parenchyma. So dicot leaf will have both the types of chlorenchyma, that is palisade and spongy, whereas monocot leaf will have only spongy type of chlorenchyma. Then vascular bundles are seen in the midrib and veins. Midrib is the main vein which carries xylem and phloem. So the vascular bundles are surrounded by a layer thick wall called bundle sheath. So here you can see the bundle sheath which is made up of collenchyma, Collenchyma is a living mechanical tissue found in leaf which gives mechanical support to the leaf from the climatic conditions or from the environmental conditions. So that is all about the dicot leaf. Now let us study about the TS of monocot leaf. See, monocot leaf. See, this is how it looks. So TS of monocot leaf. So TS of monocot leaf has what? That is, you can see the outermost layer. Here both the surfaces are same. Hence it is called isobilateral leaf. Monocot leaf is also called as what? Monocot leaf, or you can also use the word called isobilateral leaf. What do you mean by iso? Both the sides are one and the same. There you cannot differentiate it into upper epidermis and lower epidermis. And as I said, only one type of chlorenchyma is found, that is spongy chlorenchyma. In dicot leaf, both the types of chlorenchyma are found, but here both on both the surfaces we have spongy. Here you can see this is the spongy chlorenchyma, right? Having large spherical in shape, having large intercellular spaces. Here you can see filled with chloroplasts. And here it is not like equally the stomatal openings are distributed. And there are special types of cells found on the epidermis called motor cells. And these motor cells are very prominent in xeric plants growing in desert area. So you may wonder, what is the function of motor cells? Particularly, these motor cells will roll off the leaf lamina. I think all of us know transpiration is called as a necessary evil. You cannot avoid transpiration because during daytime the stomata is open and the exchange of gases takes place, which is very important for the process of photosynthesis. And at the same time, whatever water is found in the plant body is transpired. What is transpiration? Expulsion of water in the form of water vapor. And imagine in xeric plants, first of all, water, there is a scarcity of water. So whatever amount of water they have, they would like to retain it. And to avoid transpiration, the whole of the leaf lamina, the expanded part of the leaf, is rolled off. So these motor cells will help the leaf, monocot leaf, to roll off like this so that it can avoid transpiration. More the expanded leaf surface, more will be the rate of transpiration. More if it is curled or rolled off like that, then it can avoid transpiration. So this is a very unique cells which is found in monocot leaf. Now let us understand. So here you can see the lower epidermis, and they're also called as motor cells or bulliform cells. And here you can see the cuticle. Here you can see the vascular bundles, right? So stoma, cuticle, vascular bundle. Here you cannot differentiate it into upper and lower. Both the surfaces are one and the same. Stoma, lysogenous cavity, xylem. So TS of monocot leaf also, as I said, it is called isobilateral leaf. As you know, both the surfaces are one and the same. You cannot differentiate it into upper epidermis and lower epidermis, or adaxial and abaxial surface. So TS of monocot leaf is isobilateral leaf, shows three main parts, same like that: epidermis, mesophyll and vascular. So here epidermis is same. You cannot mesophyll is of spongy chlorenchyma. Then vascular system. So epidermis covers both upper and lower surface of the leaf has a conspicuous cuticle. In grasses, certain adaxial epidermal cells along the veins modified themselves into large, empty, colorless cells called bulliform cells, or they are called as mota cells. They help in rolling off the leaves to reduce transpiration during dry season. So, stomata are equally distributed on upper and lower epidermis, hence the name isobilateral. Whereas in dicot leaf, more number of stomatal openings in the lower epidermis than in the upper epidermis. So, there we use the word called dorsiventral leaf, or upper epidermis and lower epidermis. So, here both the surfaces are one and the same and have equal number of stomatal openings, hence the name isobilateral leaf. And tissue between upper and lower epidermis is called mesophyll, and mesophyll cells are not differentiated into palisade and spongy, and it is having only one type of parenchyma, that is chlorenchyma, that is called spongy parenchyma. So vascular bundles are seen in the midrib and veins. So the vascular bundles are surrounded by a layer of thick walled bundle sheath cells. So here you can see, and here it is made up of sclerenchyma. There it is made up of collenchyma. Here the bundle sheath is made up of sclerenchyma. So stomata are equally distributed. Stomata are equally distributed on upper and lower epidermis, hence the name isobilateral leaf, and tissue between upper and lower epidermis is called mesophyll. Mesophyll cells are not differentiated into palisade and spongy parenchyma. Vascular bundles are seen in the midrib and veins. The vascular bundles are surrounded by a layer of thick walled bundle sheath of cells. So this is all about the anatomy of a dicot leaf and a monocot leaf. Let us move on to a next very important concept called secondary growth in dicot stem. What is secondary growth? I think all of us know, we use a word called wood, which is hard and sturdy. And we call wood only in dicot stem. We don't use the word called wood in monocot stem. So what is secondary growth? Secondary growth is nothing but increase in thickness. Increase in thickness or the girth of the stem. Increase in the thickness or the girth of the stem is called secondary growth. So secondary growth is seen only in dicot stem because of the presence of a very important structure called cambium. Cambium is present in dicot stem, but it is absent in monocot stem. So we use the word called wood only in dicot stem, but not in monocot stem. So what is this? Is also very important from examination point of view. So what is secondary growth? Secondary growth is nothing but the increase in thickness of the plant body due to the addition of secondary tissues by the activity of cambium and cork cambium is known as secondary growth. So how do we define the word called secondary growth? The increase in the thickness of the plant body due to the addition of secondary tissues by the activity of the cambium and cork cambium is known as secondary growth. This growth occurs in stem and root parts of shrubs and trees only in dicotyledons. Very, very important. It does not take place in monocots. So secondary growth takes place in woody perennial plants. So I repeat, what is secondary growth? The increase in thickness of the plant body due to the addition of secondary tissues like the secondary xylem, secondary phloem. Hence, by the activity of cambium, as I said, what is cambium? Cambium is nothing but a strip of meristematic tissue or a 2 to 3 layered meristematic cells, and cork cambium is known as secondary growth. So this growth occurs in stem and root parts of shrubs, hard and woody, that is woody plants, and trees in dicotyledon. Secondary growth takes place in woody perennial plants. So here you can see the dicot stem anatomy already have studied. See the vascular bundles. Here you can see the cambium. Here you can see the primary phloem, then the primary xylem, then the vascular cambium and the pith. So here you can see the interfascicular cambium. What is interfascicular cambium? The cambium that is formed between two vascular bundles is called interfascicular cambium. What is intrafascicular cambium? The cambium that is found between the xylem and phloem in a single vascular bundle is called intrafascicular cambium. What is interfascicular cambium? So this is called as the interfascicular. The cambium that is formed between two vascular bundles is called the interfascicular cambium, which is going to help in the process of formation of a cambium ring. Hope you all know that how do we assess the age of a tree? By measuring the number of annual rings, cambium rings. So one ring is equal to 1 year. I think you might have come across there is a separate branch of science called dendrochronology, which deals with the study of the age of a tree. So here you can see how the secondary growth has taken place. So here you can see phellum, phellogen, then the secondary growth of secondary xylem and secondary phloem. As I said, it is characterized by what? Process of formation of secondary tissues. And here you can see how the cambium ring is formed, and that is how it is responsible for the process of the thickness of the stem. So it results in the formation of secondary xylem called wood and an external cork layer called bark. I think all of you know the bark, the outermost covering of a stem, we use a word called bark. And it results in the formation of secondary xylem called wood and an external cork layer known as bark. And the two lateral meristems involved in secondary growth are vascular cambium and cork cambium. They are nothing but the vascular cambium and the cork cambium. So secondary growth in dicot stem takes place in the stele. Stele, this is the stele region. What do you mean by stele? Where you come across xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem. So secondary growth in dicot stem takes place in the stele, that is intrastellar secondary growth, and in the cortex surrounding in stele called extrastellar secondary growth. So secondary growth in dicot stem takes place in the stele when it is called as intrastellar secondary growth, and in the cortex surrounding the stele is called extrastellar secondary growth. So it results in the formation of secondary xylem called wood and an external cork layer known as bark. And the two lateral meristems involved in secondary growth are a vascular cambium and the cork cambium. So secondary growth in dicot stem takes place in the stele, which is called intrastellar secondary growth, and in the cortex surrounding in stele called extrastellar secondary growth. Hope you have understood the concepts what I have explained in this session particular, where we studied about the anatomical features of a dicot leaf with that of a monocot leaf, and also about the secondary growth in dicot plants. So in the coming session, I'll be continuing the same secondary growth in dicot plants, and I'll be back with some more interesting concepts. Till then, goodbye and thank you.